Hi, everybody. This is Andrea for the Learning Bear Podcast, your resource for wild professional development. Today is a continuation of the summer series I've been doing again, and this is Outdoor Activities Part 2. We're going to be talking about some outdoor things you can do with your kids, and really none of these require any supplies. You just need you, your kids, and the ability to talk, however you communicate with your kids. But first, some safety. Before you do anything outdoors, make sure you complete the following. And I've talked about these at length in my other outdoor videos, so I apologize if you are experiencing these again. Make sure you apply sunscreen, especially if you're in direct sunlight. Even on a cloudy day, you can get sunburned, so please wear sunscreen. Wear a hat and sunglasses if you can. I have prescription glasses, so unless I want to put in contacts, which I don't, I can't wear sunglasses, but I can always wear a hat, as can you. The bigger the brim, the better, because you'll get more protection. Make sure you pack plenty of water and easy-to-eat snacks like fruit or nuts, something that doesn't have a lot of packaging. Grapes are great because you can put them in your pocket. Some nuts. Please don't litter, by the way. Whatever you take in, you take out. But easy snacks are always important. And if you can get a nice, like a Hydro Flask water bottle, which are amazing, you can take water and it'll stay nice and cool for you the whole time. Next, apply bug spray as necessary. I myself don't really like bug spray, but I am also terribly allergic to mosquitoes. I swell up. It's awful. So either I don't go outside or I have to have some form of protection, either in clothing or bug spray. There are some so-called natural ways or alternative ways to protect yourself from bugs without the use of bug spray. You can look those up on your own time. Some of them have been effective for me, some of them haven't. I think everybody's body type being different kind of determines that. Next, make sure you wear proper footwear, no flip-flops, okay? You don't need to buy crazy boots from Cabela's or something, but you do need to wear something that's going to support your foot and your ankle. Dress appropriately. Again, no, you don't want spandex. You want something that's going to breathe well for you. Cotton is usually a good choice. Loose-fitting clothing is usually a good choice. If you're going to be in like a tall grassland area or in a densely populated forest, you're going to want to be covered from head to toe just to keep, poison ivy off you, bugs off you, whatever. I know it seems like you would be really hot, but if you're wearing loose-fitting cotton-based clothing, you'll be fine. And again, if you have plenty of water and snacks, you'll also be fine. If you're going out with your kids, make sure you discuss the senses that they are allowed to use. You can always look, you can always hear, you can possibly smell, maybe even touch, depending on what it is, but never let them taste anything. You have no idea what's going on in that forest. Do not taste anything, okay? You just don't do it. Just don't do it, okay? If you're hiking, tell someone where you are going and when you expect to return, especially if you're hiking alone, but also if you have a kid. Take enough water and food for everybody. A map may be a good idea, and some form of self-defense like a whistle or a walking stick or some pepper spray. And most importantly, definitely take a first aid kit because you just never know. I'm telling you, you just never know, okay? So the first presentation I did about outdoor activities, we just talked about kind of general hike ideas. This takes it a step further, and we're going to be talking about investigation hikes, which should be kind of fun, hopefully. So the first hike is a life cycle hike. Before the hike, you're going to need to know what a life cycle is, so do a quick Google search if you don't. You could talk about it for plants and possibly some animals like deer or squirrels, butterflies, things of that nature. When you do this, you need to talk to your student about what a life cycle is. They may or may not know what that is. You need to sort of lay it out for them, what it is and the different stages, and I'm going to give you some assistance with that momentarily. Once you've got that figured out, then you can kind of set up a challenge for yourself. You could estimate how many examples you find or decide what you're going to find. If you want to find 10 items in the adult stage or 10 in the larva stage or whatever. Let your child be the guide on that. Or you could just take it as it comes. Maybe you do that the next time you take on a life cycle hike. Then during the hike, you're going to look for different stages of the life cycle. Plants would probably be the easiest to locate, so you should probably lean on that example. But you may be able to find some examples of, baby animals, adult animals, and so on. And then after the hike, as you should do with any activity with your kids, you should have a discussion with them. How did it make you feel? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What was your favorite part? What was hard? Is there something you wish you had found? Would you like to do this again? Just show them that you value their opinion and that you want to talk to them about this, because ultimately talking to them in this fun way is going to make it easier for them to talk to you when they're struggling with something. So use it. Now, as promised, I am giving you some visual examples of how to talk to them about a plant life cycle. This is a kind of a complicated one, but it shows a lot of different stages, so that's why I kept it in. So I'm not going to read it to you because I'm sure you can read, but basically it goes from seed to a seedling to an immature tree to a fully grown tree. Usually it will have some sort of fruit or nut or a cone that it'll drop down. This is the example of an apple tree, but this can be manipulated to any tree that you see in your local area. There's these things called life cycle models that you can get on Amazon for like $10. The plant life cycle one is really good. It's of a bean plant, and a lot of schools teach that life cycle. It's something you need to know. So I recommend, if you can, getting a few life cycle models. They're fun for kids to put in order. They're fun to talk about. They're an easy manipulative, and they're relatively cheap considering how much you can do with them. So this is the plant life cycle, like I said. And then moving on to the frog life cycle. If you're going to be in a wet area, you might see frogs depending on the type of year, or you might hear them. So this is the frog life cycle, pretty basic. And again, this is something that you can get a model of from Amazon, or I think the brand is like Safari Life or something. Eggs, tadpole, froglet, adult. I got these for a birthday present for my nephew, and he loved it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just for this hike. It can be a cool, interesting, unique present as well for your kids if you do presents in your household. Then the next one we'll talk about is the monarch butterfly life cycle. Starts as an egg, then a caterpillar, then a chrysalis, and an adult. This is a really important one that they talk about in schools as well, so I recommend checking it out. You can also do ones about fish. You can do one about deer. A really basic one that you can get online is the chicken life cycle. You can get about ants and spiders and worms and all sorts of weird stuff. So check it out. You should definitely check it out. I have a honeybee one. It's really great for kind of making kids more comfortable with bees. And I have a book that goes with it, and I really love it. It's one of my favorite things that I have, so I recommend it. If you can get a life cycle model or have a picture that you can show your kids, it'll make a huge difference. Okay, so moving on to our next investigation hike, we have the habitat hike. So the habitat hike is really easy, but meaningful, because they need to know about habitat when they get into school. If they don't know about it already, you're going to need to discuss habitat with your child. And if you don't know what it is, then you also need some help. Okay, so basically habitat is the things that you need to live: food, water, shelter, space, and air. Usually schools focus on the food, water, and shelter. Air and space become more of implied things, but it is important to know those are items as well. So here's some help. This is how you can talk to your kids. What do you need to live? Do you think that squirrels need the same thing? What about plants? Do plants and animals rely on each other? And what would happen to plants and animals if they did not have everything they needed? And naturally, of course, you can let your students kind of be the guide on this. And if they have more questions, or if they have interesting answers and you want to hear more about it, then just kind of let that happen, okay? Now, before the hike, you will want to pick 2 or 3 plants and animals, and while you are hiking, try to find their food, water, shelter, space, and air. During the hike, you want to either keep track mentally or on paper. You could also use one of those small dry erase boards. Kids love those things. That might be a good option for you as well. After the hike, discuss your findings. Did anything surprise you? Was something hard that you didn't expect to be hard? Do you think it would be harder or easier for the animals or plants that are trying to find the same things? Why or why not? And again, let your child kind of be the guide on this discussion. If they ask a question or they offer an interesting answer, try to get more out of them. So the last investigation hike that I want to offer to you is a watershed hike. Watersheds are kind of tricky, and it's kind of a weird word that not everybody understands. It took me a while to learn about it as well, because I wasn't taught it in school. So before you introduce this activity to your child, you need to know what a watershed is. And do you know what a watershed is? A watershed is an area over which surface water and the materials it carries flows into a single collection place. So anywhere water flow can touch, like rain can touch, is part of a watershed. You can look up a beautiful watershed map and see all the watersheds across America and see where they flow. It's pretty interesting. So, for example, the Chesapeake Bay watershed, which is in Virginia, covers approximately half of Virginia's land. And so everything flows a certain direction within that watershed. The other 2 major watershed systems are Gulf of Mexico, so everything flows down into the Gulf, or the North Carolina Sounds, which are the big bays in North Carolina. So here the important catchphrase is we all live downstream. So what that means is even if you are careful where you live and maybe you're not putting a lot of pollution into your watershed, the people before you, upstream from you, may have put a lot of pollution in, and so they're polluting the water even if you aren't. And even if you just have a little bit of pollution, it's going to flow downstream to the next person. So no matter how clean you are, it really matters who's clean before you or who's not clean. Everything just compounds the farther it goes downstream. So it's really important that we're smart about what we put into our water system, because somebody else is going to have to deal with that pollution or trash or whatever. So the important phrase again is we all live downstream. Now, as you look at this slide, I'm sure it's overwhelming because it's overwhelming to me to look at, and I know what all this stuff is. But these are some good questions to ask on your hike to kind of keep your kid thinking, maybe even help you think about it. I'm not going to read them to you, but these are some really good questions to get it talking and kind of think about where all of our water goes day in and day out. I think it's something we definitely take for granted. And when you become more aware of what your resources are doing for you or what they're not doing for you, you can be better citizen scientists and better stewards of our natural resources. And that's really what it comes down to, at least for me. So to wrap up, thank you for watching, and I hope you've subscribed, share, and like. If you have any questions about anything shared today or in any of my other videos, please email me at learningbearpodcast@gmail.com. I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.